Hi, this is Danny Palacio, and I'm your host for a Waking Moment podcast. I'm excited that you're here today. If this is your first time, welcome. And if you are a repeat listener, thank you so much for all the support. So you can find me on all of the major podcast channels. You can either search for my name or by the podcast name, A Waking Moment. So this week we're going to dive into a question that got inspired by a musical that I listened to a couple weeks ago and haven't been able to get the music out of my head since. To be honest, I discovered this musical, I think back in like 2016, 2017, and it had already left Broadway. And it's called If Then, and it's a wonderful musical. I provided a link in the summary if you wanted to learn more about it. The music is fantastic, and the topic is one that I think about and ponder a lot. If something, then what? And in our world, I discovered as I Googled and did some research on it, what if questions are actually pretty extensive out on the Google world, out on your web browser. And so I've put some of those together, but as you know, this podcast is dedicated in supporting you and finding your inner truth and really living from that place of authenticity, finding greater joy and creating a life of your dreams. So what if? What if, right? I'll share a quick personal story and then we'll dive into some of the questions and I'll share a little bit about the what if questions around spirituality. Yeah. So hang in there. So a quick personal story is, what if I had never moved out of Minnesota? This is a question that I have asked myself multiple times in my life. What if I had stayed in my small town of Minnesota? What if I had never moved? Would I have had the love of travel like I do? I know if I had never left, I would have never met the people in New Mexico or the people in Oregon. And if you extrapolate the possibility of the what if from a place where you have moved, it's fascinating. And we moved out of Minnesota when I was 16. And so I haven't lived in Minnesota. Well, I actually moved back there, but that's another story, a few years ago. But I've actually lived outside of the state of Minnesota longer than I actually lived in it, right? I think my family is been in Oregon for like 33 or 34 years now. So twice as long as I lived in Minnesota. And in those years, I had an incredible life. I experienced a lot of amazing things. But what if I had never left? Then what? Would I have gone to university in state? Would I have ever left my small town? Could I, if I hadn't left, would I still be there? Would I be married? Would I have had children? A whole different life if I hadn't moved. And so that's just one small example, even though it's a huge potential possibility of all the what ifs. And in spirituality, we often talk about, and in the energetic world, we often talk about multiple timelines, right? So you're living a timeline and you're making choices, and then the next choice comes up. And do you go left or do you go right? Or do you continue to go straight? Like, that doesn't seem like a very big impact, but it can be. And from a energetic spiritual perspective, I do believe that there is a divine plan, and that divine plan is going to fulfill itself because it was set in motion. And at a soul energetic level, you already agreed to it or you wouldn't have incarnated. So you might take the side road, you might take the curvy, bendy road, you might pop all over the place. But in the end, you're more than likely going to end up exactly where you're meant to end up. So the journey is, you hear this a lot, it's the journey, not the destination. And so if it is the journey, the what if questions play a very potentially big portion of the possibilities. All right. So as we get down into this, I found some what if questions on the internet, and I'm just pulling them up. What if you had superpowers? What if I moved away? That was one of the questions we started with. What if I suddenly disappeared without notice? What if? What if? What if you, whoever the you is, hated my boyfriend or my girlfriend? What if I could find out every person who has ever had a crush on me? I don't know why I'd want to find that out, but that was one of the questions. What if we could communicate telepathically? What if? And I found this great, very scientific kind of response from this woman. I don't know if this is her real name because it's Anita Bonita, which makes me giggle. But it's from Quora, and it says, it had to do with the what if. And it says that what if, that question, that comes from either having a pragmatic or a dogmatic thought process, usually the latter. For example, scientists use what if questions to form a hypothesis and then conduct a test. So that's science, right? And so it also, what if you're doing it inside yourself, not from a scientific perspective, could be a form of overthinking. It could be a place where you're visualizing the worst case scenarios, or you're dwelling on the past, or worrying about the future. What if? So hopefully the what if is coming from a sincere state of curiosity, right? Like, what if I decide to do this? What if I say no to this? Then what? And so the if, and then the then. And this beautiful musical explores this one woman's life around making a choice between two people and two situations, and what each world would have looked like. But in that process, there's the signs along the way. So angel numbers or numerology is a beautiful way to have signs in our life to go reflect on what potentially the universe is trying to get us to recognize. I know that, I don't know what culture it comes from, but it's pretty common, which is when a bird poops on your head, it means that you're extremely lucky, or that you're about to move into luck, or good fortune. I don't know. I was walking in Peru one day, in the city in Miraflores, and literally a pigeon pooped on my head, and it was gross and I didn't like it at all. But then I remembered that it's supposed to mean something positive. I think my overall experience in Peru was a huge example of trust and faith, and it was an amazing, life-altering experience. So maybe that bird just needed to get my attention. I don't remember exactly what I made it mean at the time, which is another slippery slope. So just because you believe in science like I do, doesn't mean that we always interpretate them correctly. And so have some fun, keep it lighthearted, and play the game, right? Here's some other what if questions to kind of see if this continues to resonate for you. What if you could live for 200 years? Would you want to? What would you do? If you knew you were going to live for 200 years and on your 201st birthday you died, what would you do with all that time? I mean, no one's guaranteed time, right? So what if you could be an animal? It's a huge question. Well, what kind of animal? I'm not sure that I would want to be an animal. Maybe I'd want to be a cat. I don't know. Only if I was my own cat. But I'm a cat, so I can't be my own cat. Right? Like, it gets tricky. And again, this is all for fun. What if money can buy happiness? Now, we've been told multiple times, and particularly in the alternative spiritual new age movement. Money can, well, there's so many stories about money, but is money the root of all evil, or is it the love of money? But what if money could buy happiness? What would that mean for us? What would it mean for our souls if the more money we had, the happier we were? And we know scientifically, when they've done research, that millionaires, billionaires that have all the money that they need often aren't the happiest people on the planet. So it's just a way to shift your mindset. If you're stuck in the same old question, in a routine of making decisions, start asking, what if? What if there was no electricity for a year? How would you live? What would you do? Obviously, you wouldn't be listening to podcasts, and you wouldn't be watching TV, and you wouldn't have light after the sunset. So what if there was no electricity for a year? That's a big one. Like, whoa. And all of these questions are the what ifs that I'm sharing right now are in the summary. So if you want a copy of the what if questions, go visit the summary notes, and you'll be able to copy them from there. What if you could marry someone famous, either living or dead? So there's no restrictions on who you could come up with. But what if you could marry someone famous? My next question is, would I want to? I'm not so sure I would. I know a few famous people, and it's challenging to live a quote unquote normal life, right? Like, they're well known. When they walk down the street, people know who they are. They often get interrupted. They often, have well-intended people walk up to them and ask them, or tell them how much they love them, or, and all they want to do is go grocery shopping. So I don't know that I'd want to marry someone that's famous, but there's some advantages as well, right? Like travel and luxury around creative expression and time and resources. That could be a lot of fun. So I've gone on and on about what if questions. And one of the things I mentioned when we started was, what if questions related to spirituality? When I Googled that, and I spent some time looking for it, they weren't what if questions. They were how, what questions, what, blah, 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 blah. And so I started thinking about spirituality and about energy. And some of those questions, what if we had concrete proof that Jesus was a living, breathing man and performed the miracles that we read about in the Bible? What if we had scientific proof? Now, some may say we already do, based on their belief system and how they grew up, which I'm cool with, right? But what if everybody had the ability to see the unseen world? What if they did? What would the world look like? What would the world be like if we all could see the spirits that were still on this planet, that were in our lives, that were in our homes? If we could hear and see the frequencies and energies of people. Some people have that gift, right? Some people see auras. Some people have that innate gift to see, what's that movie? Dead people. That one where I see dead people. What if everybody had that ability? Would it mean that there would be less dead people visible? Or would it mean that more people would help the people that are stuck on this plane of existence transition to the next one? What if you knew the future? What if you were psychic? What if you were a seer and you could see your future? You could not only see your future, but you could see other people's future. I have a few psychic friends, and they are good-hearted people that are supporting investigations, local authorities, state authorities, federal authorities, to help uncover some of the behind the scenes things that um, there's no proof of, but someone with a psychic ability can tune into it and see it. One of my favorites is Tyler Henry. He was called the Hollywood Medium. He had his own show for a while, and he has a new show on Netflix. And I really enjoy him because he's so humble, and his demeanor is very sweet and kind. And he really is like processing all this energy and emotion. You can tell just by watching him. But sometimes I wonder if he could, would he choose it? And what if he didn't choose it? What if way back when he was a kid getting this information, he decided, oh, I don't think so. I'm not doing that. What if then? What would have happened to all the people he's given readings to? Would they ever have gotten that information? Would their loved ones would have been able to actually say or experience or share? And then all these readings have a deep impact on someone currently living, right? And if they never had happened, would those people have been healed? Would they have had closure? Would they have been inspired? Would they have changed their life, let's say, right? The other lovely person that I I really enjoy is the Long Island medium. She is a hoot, and she is for real. And again, same question. She's read for hundreds of people, probably thousands of people. And all those people, it made an impact. Would they have gotten that same impact in a different way if she hadn't embraced her gift and hadn't shared what she receives? Teresa is her name. Yeah, the Long Island medium. She's fun. And I think she still has a show. So, all right, I've gone on kind of longer than I had hoped or wanted to, but I want to spark the idea for you about what if, or if, fill in the blank, then what? If I choose to spend all of my savings, then what's the end of that sentence? Then I have to go get a job. Then I get on food stamps. Then I win the lottery. Then I celebrate my freedom. Then I get super depressed and can't leave the house and get disability. There's just so many options and choices. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. Again, this is a fun way to change the way you think. Open up to possibilities. If you're stuck in a thought or in a process or in a routine that doesn't feel good to you anymore, or doesn't make your heart go pitter patter, especially, okay, let's move it on to a relationship. If you're in a relationship and it's abusive, or it's old, or you're not getting the respect and the love that you desire, or you're just in a deadened state of awareness or emotions or feelings, you could play the what if game. What if I had an affair? What if I left? What if I packed up my things one day and ended the relationship? Like, ghosting, right? What if? If I did that, then what? What would you feel? And why would you do it? How did you do it? So I could go on forever around this. And this is what that musical inspired. All those years ago when I was listening to the music and I was starting to learn the story by listening to the music, it dawned on me that these people live their life with love, with conviction, with some certainty. Yet, even with all of that certainty, they still pondered What would have happened? You've been asked questions before, right? Like offered a job, maybe got a proposal for marriage, or maybe someone asked you to move in with them. Maybe you were the one who asked. And if they did or didn't, what would have happened? So many things. And we only know what we know when we know it. And that's true in the spiritual world as well. You only know what you know when you know it. And then you don't know it anymore. Like the attachment of knowing or feeling like you absolutely know probably means that you're limiting the possibilities of what could be happening. Or what maybe even the divine, the universe, the creator wants to have happen for you. So don't get too attached to too much. Try and stay open. Try and stay in the flow. And so, do you remember when you were a child and you learned the song, Row, Row, Row Your Boat? I've often used, I don't know if I've talked about that on this podcast yet, but I've often used that song, and I often still remember the song in this way. If you think about the words, row, row, row your boat, then you need to take action. And you need to have a boat for one, but then you need to take action. You actually need to physically row the boat. So you got the boat, you're physically strong enough to row the boat down the stream. And that's the other second part, is down the stream. Don't row your boat upstream. Oh, geez, that's like too much work, too much effort. Flow with the river, flow with the universe, flow with what's happening in your life, and row, row, row your boat down the stream. And don't do it crazily, do it gently. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. So when you're rowing gently down the stream, do it with joy, do it with happiness. And if a what if question can help you figure out how to be more joyful, how to be more in that potential possibility of amazement, do it that way. For goodness sakes, don't row your boat gently down the stream with trepidation and fear and dread and, oh my God, no, 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 and all the things you don't want to have happen. Focus on what you do want. Focus on what is being asked of you in a joyful, merrily, merrily, merrily way. And guess what? Life is but a dream. And that means a couple different things, right? When you think about it. Life can be a dream. It can be beautiful, and it can be as if it was a dream that you had co-created in your mind. And it can be a dream in the sense that it goes by so fast that it feels like a dream. It feels like, oh, I just had that. It's over. Like it's so fast, it's over. So really enjoy the journey. I really thank you for being here with me today. I hope the what if questions, or the if then fill in the blank questions, experiences can really encourage you and support you in your journey. And again, there's so much information in the summary notes this week. Lots of good questions to ponder, and continue to Google for yourself, because I scratched the surface. There's a lot. There's books and games and things you can buy, but honestly, just come up with your own, take 5 minutes and brainstorm some ideas. It's a great way to start a conversation. It's a great way to get to know someone more. It's a great way, if your girlfriends are getting together, or your guy friends are getting together, to start to throw out some of those questions. Well, what if you and see what they say. So again, have a wonderful week. Thanks for tuning in, and please share with your friends and family. Thank you.